very tight-lipped. First thing in the morning, I contacted them again, and when I saw them before the interview, they were giving some very sly winks to me, although not actually admitting that that meeting took place until we actually spoke to Senator Sanders.
Right. Well, you know, they didn't want to let the cat out of the bag, so to speak, until it was a done deal. And, of course, wow, what a story to be able to tell. All right, Ben Wiedemann, thanks so much. We know you were all over it. Appreciate it. Let's talk more about this with CNN's religion editor Daniel Burke and Larry Sabato, director of the Center for Politics at the University of Virginia. So, Daniel, you first. Is this a first for a presidential candidate to meet with the Pope in the midst of a campaign?
Well, it is definitely highly unusual. I've been covering religion and politics for more than a decade. I've never seen anything like it. On the other hand, when you look at Pope Francis and Bernie Sanders, it kind of makes sense. Ben Wiedemann said a few minutes ago that people in the Vatican have clearly felt the burn. I think it's equally true that Bernie Sanders may love this Pope more than some Catholics. He praises him profusely. He talks about him all the time. He talks about him as a personal hero, even though Bernie Sanders is not Catholic. He's Jewish. Earlier this week, we put up a quiz on CNN.com. It was called Who Said It, Bernie Sanders or the Pope? And a lot of people, including people who work for church organizations, couldn't tell the difference. They mixed up the two. So it just goes to show how closely, exactly, yeah. And so it just goes to show how closely these two men are aligned on certain things like economic inequality and the environment.
So Larry, what potentially does this mean for a president candidate? Well, the Pope has said before that he tries to stay out of politics. In a way, he injects himself into things that are of the political nature. So this visit, in your view, how does Bernie Sanders use this to his advantage, particularly so close to a very pivotal, potentially pivotal race in New York?
Well, Fred, it's a media coup for Sanders, first of all. Who's dominating the news on the Saturday before the Tuesday New York primary? I haven't seen Hillary Clinton for 3 seconds. I've seen Bernie Sanders everywhere because of this meeting with the Pope. So that's a plus. And think about the vote in New York. I'm a voting analyst, so I have to go to the votes.
Yeah.
Even though Sanders would be the first Jewish president, he's doing very poorly among Jewish voters in New York. He's losing to Hillary Clinton by 20 or more percentage points. But,
and why would that be?
Well, he was losing even before the CNN debate on Thursday night, but I think Sanders probably hurt himself, at least with older Jewish voters, with his comments about Israel. But think about the vote in New York. It's 6% Jewish. All right. And in the Democratic primary, it can be a lot higher than that. In New York City, it's often 20%. But Catholics in New York are 39% of the population. So what Sanders may have lost among Jewish voters, potentially he could make up with Catholic voters, although it may not work out that way.
Wow, that's a fantastic and very interesting dynamic indeed. All right. Thank you so much, Larry Sabato, Daniel.